Welcome to The Deal, a podcast dedicated to maximizing name, image, and likeness opportunities. You'll hear from student athletes, coaches, and athletic administrators on how NIL partnerships can impact individuals and the schools they attend. It all comes down to making the best deal.
Welcome back to The Deal, the Name, Image, and Likeness podcast where student athletes, administrators, and coaches can learn about NIL deals, the benefits, and how to get started. My name is Paige Salveter, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Athletics Communications here at the NAIA National Office. And we are super excited about this podcast. It's brought to you by our partner, Open Doors, the world's leading athlete influencer platform. And today we are honored to have Caleb Lemon. So he is joining us from one of our NAIA campuses, Concordia, Nebraska. And this is going to be a unique podcast today because Caleb is a reporter for his school paper called the Sower. And he's actually writing a story on NIL and at Concordia. And he really wants to know just what we're doing here at the NAIA is really giving education to our student athletes and letting them know about the deals and the opportunities that they can have. So I'd love to just kind of open it up and say, welcome, Caleb. Let's introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're up to and why you're on the deal today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm a reporter for our school newspaper, and I got the opportunity to write a NIL story, kind of about NIA as a whole, but mainly at just Concordia. At Concordia, we haven't had a lot of athletes take advantage of this yet, but I know we are trying to take that next step. And I just think this is a great opportunity for me to kind of help educate not just maybe the athletes, but also just everyone who is interested in this idea. I played baseball at Concordia for 3.5 years, so I know all about that student athlete life. I never did take advantage of a NIL deal, but that's okay.
What position did you play?
I was a middle infielder, so mainly shortstop or second base.
What was your record when you were playing for Concordia?
Concordia's had a very, very good last 5-6 years. I know it was a lot of wins and very few losses. I'll say that we made it to the regionals the last 3 years in a row, I believe. So we were 1 win away from the NAIA World Series last year, and then 2 years ago we actually made it to the NIA World Series.
It's a big deal to go there. I just actually got to go this last year, and it's quite the student athlete experience. Great awesome. Experience for our athletes.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's just say that you'd like to learn about name, image, and likeness and how it impacts the National Association of NAIA.
Absolutely. So just kind of to get things started, so everyone who is listening can get kind of a good background on the topic. Just in a nutshell, could you kind of explain how NIL works in the NAIA and if there's any major differences between us and the NCAA?
Absolutely. So you definitely do hear more about NIL with NCAA. I was just actually watching the Deion Sanders episode and listening to 60 Minutes this weekend about some of the deals he's getting for his student athletes. So they're not as flashy in the NAIA, I will say that. But as far as the opportunities, they're really the same. The rules are typically around the same, but the NCAA does not currently have a formal disclosure process or require those disclosures of deals to be completed by athletes. We have a national partner, as you know. This podcast is brought by Open Doors, and we put in our legislation that NAIA requires all of our deals actually be disclosed to the athletics director on their campus. But as far as additional rules that athletes have to follow, they're determined by whether or not the state in which their institution is located has a state law specific to NIL. In addition to their institutions having specific NIL policies, which many of our NAIA schools have, and it's critical to their NIL infrastructure. So you really should pay attention. Bottom line is what's happening in your state, what your school states. But as far as what we require at the national office that you have to disclose to your athletics director.
I know the NAIA was the first to legalize NIL across all divisions, which is a really cool
thing for us
to say. Just since the legalization, how has NIL been working? Has it been going smoothly, or have you noticed any issues that have arisen since then? Or
yeah, I think Caleb, you brought up a good point. You said at Concordia, a lot of people aren't taking it. I'm an NAIA student athlete. Maybe I can't get the big deals. But as far as the deals that are happening, it's really been amazing, especially for the schools who are taking the initiative and providing resources to set their athletes up for success. So I think the more that the athletics directors know and the coaches know, the more they can get that communication, to their student athletes. I think the only issues, it's not just feeling supported or confident to pursue the NIL opportunities. But when they don't have the resources or education that empowers them, they obviously probably don't know about the deal. So that's why we decided to actually do this podcast, to share that there are many student athletes that are benefiting. And we know that a recent survey, a result of over almost 1,000, about 80 student athletes on a scale of 1 to 5, their confidence level to pursue the NAIL opportunities is about 2.5 before having the opportunities open doors. So we're seeing that partnership with Open Doors really open up some opportunities for our student athletes. They really help them, build their brand, how to reach out to sponsors, how to reach out to partners. And we know since that partnership of them, we've now increased that survey to 4.3 confidence level scale. As far as, how they're feeling about their deals. So I think that's pretty good testimony to our partnership with Open Doors.
Absolutely. And I've heard a lot of good things about Open Doors as well. But one thing I noticed when I was talking to my assistant athletic director at Concordia, her name's Angela Muller, she was telling me the biggest reason that she doesn't think athletes at Concordia are taking advantage of this is just lack of knowledge. And that can go the same with businesses in Sower, Nebraska. It's just lack of knowledge. And so I think podcasts like this, or just me writing in the paper about this, is just a great opportunity, just because maybe someone just genuinely doesn't know about the topic at all. So,
yeah, we're excited for you to share this on your campus for sure.
Oh yeah. All right. So here I have a little stat for you.
Okay.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that as of May 23rd, 2023, 77,000 athletes across all divisions have participated in an NIL deal. Since May 23rd, only 300 of those are from the NAIA. Now, I'm assuming it's probably gone up since then, but that's just a really wide range. So I was just wondering is it just lack of knowledge, or maybe the reason why such few athletes are taking advantage of this?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to what we were talking about before: lack of knowledge, lack of understanding that even the small deals are really great deals. And so I did this morning, I pulled up because I knew you were going to ask me some statistics. So we have an Open Doors platform that I can actually look at our student athletes and how they're performing. And right now, and this is just what's been disclosed to Open Doors. It doesn't mean that this little or large of individuals, but we know almost 2,000 of our student athletes have actually disclosed with Open Doors. And on average, we've had $93,000 in transactions through the platform. We do know, we had a student athlete on the other day. She actually got a WWE deal. So that's not through Open Doors, and that's thousands of dollars. So we're not actually seeing the total amount done, but we do know through disclosures close to 2,000 individuals have actually been getting deals.
WWE, that's awesome. So
that kind of, I know. She only weighs 109 pounds, I believe.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. That kind of goes into my next question. So it's maybe not just businesses that can take advantage of this NIL deal. It can be other civic organizations, or maybe other entities like churches or the government or things like that. Sure. Is it not just businesses?
Yeah, we call it Open Doors. I'll just say calls it the NIL ecosystem. It's not just athletes, administrators, and coaches, but external stakeholders. So on our landing page, when you go to NAIA.org/NIL, you'll see that there's a section on there for fans, brands, and businesses. So basically, anyone can provide insights for anybody. So if you want to do a deal with a student athlete, you have the opportunity to work with basically anyone. So if you look at individual fans, all types of brands and businesses, nonprofit organizations, churches, anyone can actually work in this space.
That's awesome. So do you see NIL growing then in the near future for NAIA athletes? And if so, why?
Absolutely. I think, Caleb, exactly what you're doing right now is sharing this information. We've been wanting to start sharing the information, a couple of years ago, but kind of the same thing, what's out there. And really, again, I can't speak highly enough about Open Doors. They have helped not only our institutions and our student athletes, but they're helping athletics departments grow and give opportunities outside of just what the scholarship opportunities that they can provide their student athletes. So they're providing marketplaces. So Langston University was on the other day on the deal, And they talked about having their own marketplace for each and every student athlete who wanted to take place. They're connecting them with brands that really meets their vision and mission of their institution and the values for them. So I think it's going to do nothing but grow. We do know out of our 21 conferences in the NAIA, 18 of those conferences have a school that's actually working with Open Doors. So we've seen just a lot of growth within the last year.
18 out of 21. That's a good amount.
Mhm.
What happened to those other three? How come they're not taking
I think
advantage
they're in
of
the
it?
works. They're in the works.
They're in the works?
We just
Okay.
got to tell them
Absolutely.
it's easy. And here working with Open Doors, the monetary component of it is minimal, and they're so easy to work with, and they're just so educational based.
Once the student and then the business or the other entity that they're working with, once they're sitting down and, you know, kind of working out their contract, what kind of deals have you noticed are mostly being worked out? Are they kind of similar across the spectrum, or some, you know, way smaller, some are way more? What have you noticed about all this stuff?
Yeah, I think I hear every single student athlete say they start with liquid IV. I mean, everybody needs to be hydrated, right? Whatever sport you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it starts. And then they realize, oh, okay, that's not difficult. And then they really start to look at, okay, what are the things that, you know, I'm interested in? So we had Kirsten Martin the other day. She's a tennis player. She's an education major. So she actually looked at something that actually could help her grow within her major. And that's the direction we're really seeing our student athletes growing in the area of, you know, what's so important to them beyond athletics. That's why you're going to college, right? To get an education.
Yeah,
so I think on an average, our deals probably start like $60, which isn't a lot, but then it grows to hundreds of dollars. And then we've actually had one school get over $24,000. So it's all over the gamut. And just kind of looking at, we've got the Open Doors platform. I would say probably the biggest deals are being done in the sports of football, women's volleyball, basketball, baseball, men's track and field, wrestling, bowling, and men's golf. So if you look at the Open Doors platform, those are the top sports that are actually benefiting with their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, I figured it would be football at the top. I noticed at Concordia, we've actually owned the athletes that have taken advantage of NIL. I know it's only been women's sports. So we have yet to get any men that have taken advantage of this. So that's just kind of interesting as well.
I think
Not very
women
many of
too
us.
are more active on their social platforms, which is probably
Yeah.
why you visually maybe see that. And then you might see a larger deal done with a football player, but maybe he's not, you know, promoting it on his social platform.
That's a good point. Obviously, NIL helps the student and whoever they're working with. But have you seen this benefiting the universities at all? And if so, how?
Yeah, I bring up Langston again. So this has been really a critical role in recruiting for the NAIA space. We've heard from schools tell us that they're losing top athletes to other NAIA schools, and even some D2 and D3 NCAA schools. They're worried about NAIA schools recruiting their student athletes and using their NIL support as leverage. So really by providing the resources from an individual school, the marketplace with Open Doors and the education and many other NIL related activations, this has really allowed our schools to significantly grow their brand, which positively impacts the school and the department on a global scale beyond just name, image, and likeness, right? So as I mentioned at the beginning, we actually have the partnership with Open Doors, and it's an open book with NCAA. They do not have the partnership with Open Doors, which is really synchronizing our deals and really helping our institutions across the globe.
So I go to school in Sower, Nebraska. If I were to do an NIL deal, like this is just hypothetical, are you noticing that the deals are kind of like with local businesses? Or like we did mention that one girl that has the WWE one, like that's obviously not local, but are they more local, or are they more like we're noticing that now it's like starting to branch out?
That's a great question, Caleb. I think more than less, we are seeing more local businesses. And so that's also helps the local businesses support those institutions across the United States. I mean, you know, our footprint is where we are in more rural and small areas across the country versus in big metropolitan cities. So it helps those businesses, and it's an easy connection for them to support the institution and that student athlete that they actually really love as their either alma mater or just an institution within their community.
So does NIL, let's say you have a deal and then you graduate. This could be a basic question, but I'm assuming that deal goes away once you do graduate, and it's just kind of like that's over. Or have you seen this, like people carry this on into the future?
I don't know if we have enough data to support that. I do know that Open Doors supports you while you're a student athlete. And so I think you as an individual and you have that relationship with the business, I would think that would be an individual decision that business would make with that individual.
Is there anything else that you think is important that you should add that listeners might want to know or that you think I should know?
Well, I would ask you, Caleb, how can we share this information not only with your institution? How do you plan on sharing it? And how can we help you with sharing it?
I would say so. I mean, obviously, I'm writing this. I'm gonna take some of this information and do my best to write in the paper for it, write a feature story about it. Last year, I think was the first year when I was still on the baseball team that we had our athletic director come in and sit down and talk about NIL to us. And so I just think we just need to talk about it more. We need to tell athletes it may not be, life-changing money. It could be. Like that's definitely a possibility, but it might not be, and that's okay. But I think just letting athletes know that it's absolutely a possibility and it's more than achievable. I think that's just kind of where we need to start is just keep talking about it, keep letting people know that it's possible. Even at, a smaller school, it is possible. I just think that's where so many people kind of lose hope is like, I go to a small school in a small town. I'm not going to have those opportunities. When in reality, maybe you're going to have plenty of opportunities. You just never know. You need to always try. So.
I love it. Well, this has been really an interesting episode of The Deal. And I'm not usually the one that's being asked the questions. And I will say that Open Doors helped supply some of the data. So I'm speaking factually. Of course, the data changes all the time. So I would encourage all institutions to look at Open Doors, partnering with Open Doors, and also getting your school on the marketplace. So each and every student athlete who wants to benefit from their name, image, and likeness can.
Absolutely. And if I'm going to check if Concordia is one of those, or if the GPAC is one of those that isn't involved.
I'll have to get back with you on that one.
Yeah, I'll have to check and we'll have to get on that if we're not.
Yeah. Well, gosh, this has been great, Caleb. Thank you so much for your time. And everybody, we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of The Deal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.